Feminism and fashion are some of the most controversial subjects in social media right now. Since the 20s, we have seen fashion and feminism dramatically change every single decade. And while sometimes they pair together, they also clash consistently. We see time and time again that patriarchal expectations sneaks on in and completely flips it upside down. And now we have current arguments such as feminists saying that being able to shave your body hair is a personal choice, but other feminists saying that if you still shave your body hair, it's still a patriarchal hold on women. So which is it? Is fashion and feminism actually compatible, or is it actually a barrier to the equality of all genders? First things first, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Beauty and fashion brands exploit women's insecurities for their own profit. Yeah, that's a lot just in that one sentence. But we've seen this happening since the industrial era. Women are constantly being marketed bras, shaving products, skin creams, makeup, nail care, and literal body expectations. And even though beauty expectations are changing every single decade, maybe even every 5 years, each and every time it comes around, it is so toxic. In 2000s, the only people that you will see on magazines were skinny, white, blonde women. Now in 2020, you're made to feel not good enough if you're not curvy, tanned, you have long hair, and you're not very toned. But this is a trend that we're always seeing, is that women are told to be one thing and then another, and it's always changing. Women are always either too slutty or too prude or too eccentric or too boring. We're told that we have to fit in this one little tiny box for society. And women who don't meet these expectations get ridiculed. Think of Demi Lovato, who was an actress in the 2000s and 2010. She never met the body expectations or the beauty expectations of a woman back then. And because she's never been skinny like society and magazines tell you to be skinny, she developed eating disorders, which she talks about freely all of the time because it's such an important topic to cover. Even more recently, think of Lizzo, who is a proud, staunch feminist. She's a Black female artist who advocates for good health and working out and good eating, and still gets called slurs and fat and other names on social media like TikTok. It seems like because of what we're constantly told to meet these high standards as women is we can never win. Now, where in the world do these expectations come from? Corporations. No matter how many huge fashion brands celebrate Women's Day by putting out like a feminist t-shirt or write a post about equality on social media, it doesn't change a thing when they are constantly promoting these unhealthy body expectations, and it won't erase how anti-feminist they are. We're talking about Boohoo, Victoria's Secret, Forever 21, all of these huge and well-known brands that almost all women in the United States has seen at one point or another have put their models on insane restrictive diets. Magazines such as Vogue, Vanity Fair, and Cosmopolitan have airbrushed these women who are severely underweight, edit in their makeup to reinforce these expectations, and then they sell their products with these models to younger girls or women who are going to be influenced by seeing these skinny, gorgeous, all done up for probably 3 hours women, and they're going to be influenced by that whether they like it or not. And why do corporations do this? So insecure women will buy their products and hoping that this one cream, this one mascara, this one designer shirt or purse is going to make them fit in. Okay, at this point, I've talked a lot of shit about fashion brands and fashion expectations in general, but here's the thing. Fashion brands aren't fashion themselves. Fashion itself is not a bad thing. It's a form of expression, it's an art form. And these fashion brands that are exploiting women can only offer their form of expression. In other words, they aren't the end-all be-all. In fact, many feminists have reclaimed fashion throughout history. Starting in the 20s, women began ditching the restrictive corsets and began having freedom in their clothing. They chose more flowy items. Corsets became bras, and floor-length dresses became knee-length. Even flappers were showing their bare arms and wearing a lot more makeup like rouge. A lot of historians also call this fashion a lot more boyish because they squared out their frame instead of accentuating all of their feminine curves. All in all, in the 20s, clothing became a lot more comfortable. And yes, marketing was still there. After World War I, there was an economic boom, and so women were able to buy these marketed products, but they fully embraced it because this fashion coming in allowed them to be curious with their own expression as a woman. Then during World War II, there was a huge change in expectation for women, where the men left to go to war and women were holding up the US economy. Women began taking on the men's jobs as they were finally offered that responsibility, and it was a lot more efficient to wear work pants and t-shirts and long sleeve shirts and vests. World War II also proved that women can take on this responsibility and hold it well. And through these years, women actually gained financial freedom for the first time. They didn't have to rely on their husband to make money because they were bringing in money for themselves and their family. Because women were finally having this financial freedom, in the 50s, you see that there's this huge fashion change where women are wearing patterns and prints that are for themselves. They're layering on makeup that isn't necessarily for men, but for their own expression. They can afford products and clothing for themselves without the approval of a man. Then later on in the 60s, masculinity was starting to become a lot more accepted and toyed around with. Androgyny came into play, where women started wearing vests and suits that were supposed to be for men. There was this whole ditching the bra movement because it's such a restrictive item on women. So women began wearing t-shirts without bras, and that was a great statement of rejecting the restrictive fashion standards of the time, which we're still dealing with. I don't understand why we wear bras. Even very casual clothing became popular, such as denim. If you really think about it, there's nothing necessarily feminine or sexy or appealing to the male gaze as denim. Denim is just comfortable and it's stylish without the expectation for women to be beautiful. And even with that being said, during the 60s and the 70s, women began dressing less modestly and started to own their sexuality. Through the decades, we've seen that fashion was used by women to flaunt their freedom, and it's used as a way to express their identity as an individual woman, not underneath a man. Plus, there are fashion brands that have decided to change the game and move feminism forward. If you go on the website of Fenty, the lingerie brand, you will see all different shapes and all different sizes of women's bodies. And if you look at Aerie models and their photos, you can see that none of them are photoshopped. They have promised to never touch up their photos again. And all of this normalizes things that beauty brands and fashion brands don't want normalized, like wrinkles or fat or hip dips or birthmarks or stretch marks. But ultimately, feminist fashion comes down to your individual choices. Feminist fashion doesn't come from fashion brands, it comes from you. That's what feminism is. Women's liberation from patriarchal forces like body expectations. So do I believe that feminism and fashion are compatible? Yes. Fashion gives women the ability to fully express themselves and their identity. It's also used as a vehicle of personal expression throughout American history. Even when women were handcuffed by voting restrictions and expectations for women to be submissive and modest and just good mothers and caretakers, that's all they were. And fashion was literally a form of protest in the women's rights movement. And now what I think we need to do as women is ditch the brands that still hold these toxic expectations and body image issues and have this set standard for what a body a woman should look like. We need to tear down diet culture and support models who are the face of fashion brands, who all look different. We need to continually demand on social media for more POC models, curvy models, skinny models, models who are older, models who have disabilities, and models who are shorter than 6 feet. And this is how feminism and fashion can be compatible, but it's up to us as a society to demand that out of fashion brands. But thank y'all so much for watching my video. I really hope that you enjoyed this commentary. This is one of my very first commentaries, but I will be doing future commentaries on feminist issues in the future. And if you want to see more from me, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notifications every single time that I post, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye guys!